Hi and welcome back to the channel. Some of the most extraordinary science fiction movies don't have big stars and big budgets and terabytes of special effects giving the audience unprecedented eyeball kicks. Yeah, we like these things, but if we dig deeper into the history of cinema, there are some extraordinary films that weren't made in big studios by career filmmakers with name actors. One of the most amazing British science fiction movies of the 1960s was made over 8 years by this guy, Kevin Brownlow. He started making it when he was 18 years old. His co-creator was this guy, Andrew Mollo, who was 16 when they started working on the film. It was released in 1964, but production actually started in 1956. It's an alternate universe movie called It Happened Here, and it's an amazing labour of love by two dedicated, passionate movie makers. The Germans successfully invaded England after Dunkirk in 1940 and conquered the British Isles. As the eastern front of the war requires more soldiers, the Germans leave and Britain is left in the control of the Immediate Action Organisation under Oswald Mosley's British Union of Fascists, which was a real organisation. The movie centres on a district nurse called Pauline, played by Pauline Murray. She's evacuated from Wiltshire as a partisan uprising occurs there. And before she evacuates, she sees her friends killed by the resistance as collateral damage when they attack the Nazis. In London, she finds out that she can't work as a nurse without joining the Immediate Action Organisation. She joins, but she has doubts. She thinks she can negotiate with the fascists to the extent of remaining non-political while still doing her job as a nurse. When she does so, things aren't what she thought they would be. The militarised nurses are indoctrinated by the fascists. And in a chilling 6-minute scene that was excised from early prints of the movie, Pauline sits in on a discussion by real-life ex-black shirts who talk about how they fought socialists in the streets and the things they believe about race and society. That scene is an incredible piece of cinema. Pauline helps a doctor friend who is hiding a wounded partisan and is discovered. The fascists demote her and send her to a new regional nursing home where the true horrors of the new regime are revealed to her in some very, very disturbing scenes. As the Nazi takeover of Britain crumbles, Pauline again finds herself on the front line. I'm not going to do any more spoilers than that. You can watch the movie for yourself. Remember, this movie started production only 11 years after World War II. It was made mostly on weekends. Brownlow and Mollo achieved something special here. The uniforms and equipment in this movie are more accurate than any British war film of its time. Andrew Mollo is a military history buff. He insisted that everything be totally accurate. The way this movie evokes an alternate history without using CG is staggeringly good. Most of the actors are amateurs. The clothing that people wore was scrounged from second-hand stores. They borrowed military equipment and vehicles, and they carefully chose locations that hadn't changed since the 1940s to enhance the world they were creating. And yes, the sound quality isn't as good as it would have been on a better financed movie, and there's an interesting progression in the look of the film as Brownlow and Mollo got better cameras. They started out with 16mm cameras with the image blown up to 35mm, and help came to them from unusual sources. Tony Richardson, the director of Tom Jones, looked back in anger and a taste of honey, donated £3,000 to let them finish the film, and insisted that they use 35mm cameras for the rest of it. The other help came from Stanley Kubrick, knowing from his own independent film days that low-budget films always run short of film stock, gave them the ends of the exposed reels from Dr. Strangelove. As I said, the scene with the discussions with real-life fascists was excised by United Artists at the time the movie came out, but it was returned to the film in 1994. And in my opinion, it's one of the most crucial scenes in the movie. It tells us who the enemy is. The genius of this movie is that nothing in it is fantastical. All of the things you see are exactly what happened to people in the Netherlands and France during the war. All of the propaganda radio stations you hear and the newsreels that Brownlow and Mollo create are based on the media the Nazis slammed into the occupied countries. This movie is a work of genius. The filmmakers were totally dedicated to what they were trying to create. Now, other media have tackled what if the Nazis won scenarios since it happened here. Philip K. Dick's The Man in the High Castle was published in 1962. There's Robert Harris's Fatherland, Len Deighton's SSGB, and many other works of fiction. The adaptations of these novels and smaller, more obscure works like the 1978 British TV miniseries An Englishman's Castle give us all different iterations of the bullet our world dodged. But It Happened Here got there first. It's amazing that two passionate teenagers gave us a story about a woman caught in the middle of an historic nightmare. Not a child or a man, but a woman. Pauline Murray is really good as the nurse. Not being a professional actor is a virtue in this role. There are no professional tricks or techniques here. And that gives her character a realism that works in the world of this strange, obscure, but amazing science fiction film. The actor of the week this week is Warren Oates. He was born in DePoy, Kentucky in 1928. He was a Marine for 2 years in 1946 to 1948, and later, while at the University of Kentucky, he became interested in theatre. In the 1950s and 1960s, he acted in a lot of TV westerns. His working-class face and southern accent ensured that he got a lot of character roles in this kind of series. He also appeared in both The Twilight Zone and The Outer Limits, and like Rick Dalton, the TV series Lancer. Oates was good in the Heat of the Night, Cockfighter, Drum, an obscure but really interesting film called 92 in the Shade, the action film Race the Devil, Sam Peckinpah's The Wild Bunch, and a hidden gem of a New Zealand film called Sleeping Dogs, which you should look up. The Australian band Dave Graney and the Coral Snakes recorded a song called The United States of Warren Oates. But I love him most for two movies. As the character GTO in Two Lane Blacktop, he's not what he appears to be. Watching that film for the first time, I expected GTO to be violent, but he isn't. He's a lonely, sad man and incredibly endearing for that. In Sam Peckinpah's Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia, his character Benny the piano player is in a nightmarish scenario, as the title suggests. He's an interesting character. He's violent when he needs to be, but he's also sadly and whimsically romantic. The scene where this shows the most is the one where his girlfriend Alita, played by Isela Vega, and Benny encounter two bikers. There's an emotional complexity here that rips aside that Hollywood myth of macho heroism. I really like actors who, even when they are the protagonist, are able to show vulnerability. And for all of his roles in male-centric macho movies, there's something deeply sensitive about the best Warren Oates roles, and I think that plays really well to a 21st century audience. Warren Oates died tragically early of a heart attack at the age of 53, with so much more he could have given us. He was an honest and deceptively complex actor. He really was a one-off, and he really gave great value. So that's it this time around. Thank you very much for watching. As always, please consider subscribing, liking, hitting the notification bell, and leaving a comment and let me know what you thought of It Happened Here, or even Warren Oates. You can also support the channel by going to patreon.com/paleocinema. And you can also support the world by doing the right thing when it comes to this stupid pandemic. As always, watch some good movies, watch some bad movies. Always find the hidden gems. They're the ones that are going to stick in your memory. And I'll catch you next time.